And there we go. Going live. Going live. We're going live. Here we are. Are we live?
Oh man, everybody's waiting for
All right. Here we are live. JC's here. Hi, hi, hi. Arden's here. Stormy's here. Everybody's here. Welcome to the live stream. Sorry I'm a little late. I just got here. I literally just flew in from outside doing a family dinner. It's my mom's birthday. Ardent, you are live. I am live. It's alive, Joan. It's a live stream. And we were doing my mom's birthday today. My brother took everybody to a very fancy place. And it was very fancy, and I thank him a lot. Because he paid for everything. It was so nice of him. We had, I had bananas Foster for dessert, which I do enjoy. My brother's a big fan of it too, so it was a good dinner. Good dinner. I did nothing else this weekend, of course, because I got rained out for the Artisan Festival. I know, Joan. Here, you can come over here. Joan's missing me. Joan's missing me. Stormy says, happy birthday to your mom. It was my mom. Ryan Citro, hello. Hello, Ryan Citro. JC, gotta press play. I do? What do I have to hit? Where am I? Am I not playing? Is everything good? Gotta press play. No, this is working. Everything's working, I think. Ardent, happy birthday, Tony's mom. Yes. Yes. And Stormy corrected herself. JC, I see you. Okay, good. I say good. So yeah. It was kind of a light week for me. Kind of a light week. Sold some books. Ardent, I'm good. It's good. I'm good. Okay. Sorry. Little flummoxed. Little flummoxed, Joan. And that's Joan. Little flummoxed. Okay. Let's get right into it, Joan. We'll get right into it with the numbers. Oh, the numbers. Oh, the weekend box office. Oh my God. The Nun 2. Joan. The Nun 2 is looks like it won. I can't believe it. Expendables did not do well. Eee. Ooh, wow. Third week, The Nun 2 wins box office, Joan. Get out of my face. Jeez, that's crazy. What is this thing making? Still not doing that great, but pretty good. Ardent, she likes your cologne. Yeah, my cologne is food right now. She smells all the food that she didn't get to eat. Jeez, The Nun has been at the top of the box office for 3 weeks. And look at it. It's done okay. Stormy, cuteness, aggression, yes. 69 domestic, 135 international. Huh. It's both crazy good for a sequel, for a horror movie. I don't know what the first one did. I bet the first one didn't even do this well. Let's see. You know. JC, literally nothing right out now. I guess so. Well, the first one did a worldwide gross of 363 million. And it looks like The Nun 2 is, I guess it won't do that well, but it did pretty good. This movie probably didn't cost a lot of money. Ardent, looks like the horror movie Starvation. Yeah, possibly. Because I don't think there are a lot of horror movies out right now. But they're coming. there's like half a dozen movies coming out this next month or so. Still, though, it's a little early to get into the spooky season, as they say. I hate when they call it Halloween the spooky season. I mean, it dropped by 42%, but it just makes the Expendables look bad. The Expendable 4 looks very bad being number 2 at a premiere. But then again, that's the 4th installment. So, Clint Miller's here. Tony's mother's birthday. Congrats to her. Yes. 81, my mother is. JC, October is next week. I know, but it got cold and rainy and leafy here, so you know how it is. The moment it's feasible, people start talking about Halloween. It's officially feasible to be doing Halloween stuff. We don't have any more holidays, right? Do we have any more holidays coming up? No, I don't think so. I mean, Columbus Day, but nobody counts that one, except Italian Americans. Ardent, resisting the urge to make a joke about February being spooky season. Bad, Ardent, bad. I don't get that, but that's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's very fall-like weather right now. I mean, it was like a switch here. I don't know about you guys. We were having summertime fun, and then this nor'easter rolled in, and now it's like my allergies are acting up. It's cold. It's rainy. I can't wear shorts. It's like, boom, fall. Fall is here. You sons of bitches. Put your pants on. So I guess people are just in the mood. I think that's part of it. Clint, Stormy, you've been reading the Pineys too? Fantastic. But the Expendables, I mean, 8.3 million. What did it do worldwide? Only slightly better. Oof. 10.7. Who do we got in this one? Statham, Stallone, 50 Cent, Megan Fox. I don't know why. JC, it's been a cool and mild all summer here, so it's been more of the same. Stormy, yes, love them. Thank you, Stormy. So, Dolph Lundgren, Ja, Uaz, Couture, and Garcia. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think you need more guys. But fourth installment. What are you going to do? I don't know. I'm not following this anymore. Ardent. Tony Ja is the new one. Cool. I don't know who that is. Don't know who Ja... Is that Ja Rule? No. That's his first name. Something Ja. Let's go. Let's go to the IMDb. The Expendables. I don't like this new thing either with the 4 in the middle of the word. Okay. Let's get the stars here. Tony Ja. I don't know him. Tony Ja is the new one, says Ardent. So for a wedding gift, full set, sign, right, hint, hint. Tony Ja was the Mai Tai guy. Ardent. The Mai Tai guy. Let's see what he was in. Let's see his resume. Is this a guy from, what's the name movie? The movie that takes place in the building? No, I'm not seeing that one on the list, but he's in a lot of movies. He's in something called Ong Bak. 1, 2, 3, 4. A lot of sequels. The Bodyguard, 1, 2. He's in a lot of stuff. Clint Miller. Book 13 could be released next month. Yes. Yes. It is on track. I got my... The Raid. That's the one I'm thinking of. Thank you, JC. Was he in The Raid? I don't see it listed here. Or was that called something else? Was The Raid something else in another language? Let's see in The Raid here. Love The Raid. Raid's awesome. Ardent. LOL. Expendables. Fanforstic. No, Ja was an Ong Bak. I haven't seen that. Stormy. Oh, I hope so, Clint Miller. JC. I remember OMG Bach. Ardent. OMG Bach was good. The sequel's not so much. Oh, okay. So the first one's a good one, and then they just retread. I don't know. I haven't heard of this movie. Missed out. But I'll have to try to find it. But Expendables, not really a lot of names here. I mean, you know, I don't know who they could have put at this point. I mean, Bruce Willis is out of commission. I assume they killed a few people along the way. Who's left? I mean, other than Schwarzenegger. And he was, I don't know when they shot this. He might have still been recovering from his heart surgery. Ardent. Definitely worth seeing Ong Bak. Sorry, autocorrect is kicking everyone's arse. Oh, okay. Randy Kocher. I vaguely remember him. You know who would be in this, I guess, would be like all the wrestling dudes, like The Rock. Like they could have put The Rock in this, I guess. He's kind of washed up now, right? I mean, he's not from the 80s, but I guess they wouldn't spend that kind of money. He's still fairly current. Ardent, definitely worth seeing. Oh, no, I read that one. Jean-Claude Van Damme. I think he was in the previous one, though, right? Jean-Claude. I don't know. It just doesn't sound like enough names. That's the problem with doing these movies. If you don't have enough names, it's like, why even bother? No wonder it only made... I mean, Megan Fox was not a good choice. Let's be honest. Like, if you're going to pick a female for the Expendables... I mean, there were a couple of female action stars back in the day. I'd pick Gina Carano before I'd pick Megan Fox. Yeah, Megan's hot, but I don't want to see her doing action. I just want to see her in underwear, prancing around. Not even breaking a sweat, really. just you know, just there, walking around, maybe serving drinks. But if it was going to be a female action star, I mean, Angelina Jolie was in some action movies. I mean, she wasn't great in them, but you know, Gina Carano's the only one off the top of my head, but I know there are more. I can't think of their names. Keira Knightley, even. I mean, from the vampire movies, doing good. I mean, Hit Girl is a pretty good action star, really. Clint Miller, yeah, except Gina has been canceled. I don't know if she's totally canceled anymore. I mean, she seems to be around. And she did come back with the Daily Wire movie, and then they kind of had to... She didn't quite get the apology she deserved, but she got a little bit of a... The pushback was so hard, they eventually... They didn't apologize, but it feels like they kind of backed off on her. I think she could come back, no problem. Rona Rousey was in E3. Oh, okay. So there's her. Was she killed in that one? I mean, she could have come back in this. Ronda Rousey. Clint. Not a lot of female action stars, I guess. Yeah, I'm trying to think of them, but I mean, even the characters from the original Charlie's Angels movie could have come back. You could have brought back the Charlie's Angels, like the ones that are alive. Who's alive? They're in their 70s. But I mean, all these guys are old. Could have brought back Jacqueline Smith, give her a role. I mean, she didn't do much action in Charlie's Angels, but I don't know. Somebody needed some more names. I mean, you're not going to watch The Expendables for the plot. Ardent. Rona Mitra wouldn't be bad choice. She like a female wrestler? One of the female wrestlers might be fine. Kate Beckinsale. That's who I was thinking of. And Kate Blanchett. Yeah. Someone like that. God, I can't think of any of the ones from the 80s because they were never really all that big. There was one. God, I can picture her, but I can't think of her name. She was sort of billed as a female martial artist, but I don't think she really had any legitimate, like, titles or anything, but she would play in those kinds of movies. But she would mostly shoot guys. Clint Miller, Fabulous Moolah is dead. That's a female wrestler, I assume. I don't know. Just needed more guys. Yeah, just bring back a bunch of old wrestlers, even if you just give them bit parts. I mean, that's half of Hollywood anyway. You got John Cena running around. I don't know how he got into so many movies. Kudos to his agent. Dave Bautista, same thing. Although I'll say, both of them can act better than The Rock. The Rock just can't really act. I like The Rock, but it's kind of a one-note wonder. I mean, Bautista and Cena have very limited range too, but Hulk Hogan, JC. Yeah, there's an 80s guy. Clint Miller, yep. Hulk Hogan just got married, by the way. He turned 70. He looks pretty good. I think he could pull it off. You know, he couldn't do too much, but... And his wife is 45. Ardent, Michelle Yeoh. Yep, that's definitely... Zhang Zi from Crouching Tiger. Yep. That's definitely one that could have been in it. But she's got a big career now. I guess they probably couldn't afford her. Ronda Rousey, JC. Yep. Clint Miller. Hogan's daughter isn't bad. Don't remember her off the top of my head, but I know I've seen her before. Joan, gross. You're licking my hand. I know it's okay. You can keep licking my hand, I guess. Bananas Foster all over my hands. Ardent, Natty Neidhart, met her in Alberta. Not sure about her. Don't know her. Gonna assume she's a wrestling girl. But yeah, if they got more names, I think it could have brought people in. You know? It just seemed like Expendables 4? Really? You're going 4 movies with this? It's like they know that the normal number is 3, but they figured, do one more. Somebody will see it. So, number 3, A Haunting in Venice. 6.3 million. Oh, and Expendables only made 8.3 million, just behind The Nun at 8.4. These are pretty low numbers. Ardent, From the Hart Family. From the Hart. Oh, okay. Clint Miller, Ric Flair's daughter wrestles. Oh. Yeah, I don't know if anybody would have known her, though. But, yeah. Haunting in Venice, 6.3 million. Well, seems to be doing better than, I think, A Death on the Nile kind of bombed. But I feel bad because Kenneth Branagh is a good director. I feel like he put these movies out at the wrong time. Michelle Yeoh is in this one as the psychic. 71 million worldwide. I don't think this is going to do much. And it looks pretty pricey. It might be the last one. Sadly. I mean, I think they're quality movies. But I say that having not seen them. Having not gotten up off my A and seen the damn things. But, I can only see so many movies. And I just can't spend the money on it, really. I'd rather wait until they come out on one of the streaming platforms I have. Speaking of which, number 4, The Equalizer 3. Who made this thing? 4.7 million. It's done 148. Who made this thing? Oh, blow it up. Oh, why are you calling me? Hold on. I got a text. I got to at least text. No, can't call. Everybody, I just left you people doing live stream. I even almost left early, but we just got the check. Clint Miller, Aquafina, LOL. Yeah, only if she's killed in the first 4 seconds of the movie. Ardent laughs uproariously. Yeah, who made this thing? Equalizer. Sony. Columbia, Eagle. Bunch of others. Well, I don't know where that's going to land on the streaming. But it'll be on Prime at some point. Not for free. But I'd see it. I mean, it looked fine. Equalizer 3. Looked good, in fact. Barbie, still hanging in there. 3.2 million. Wow, this is a 10th week. That's pretty good numbers for a movie that's been in its 10th week. I mean, you're in your 3rd month of release and you're still making 3.2 million. $1.4 billion. Ardent, Mila Jovovich. Yes. Yes. Big yes. Yeah. All the action? Yeah. Between the Bruce Willis movie and the Resident Evil movies? Oh, she's got a great cred. Yeah. Yeah. Great action cred. And she just fits. She's not 80s, but she just fits in like the mold of like her fans haven't seen her in something like that in a while. That would have been perfect. Way better choice than Megan Fox. Way better choice. Megan Fox could be in it, modeling bikinis, I don't know, in the strip club scene or whatever. But Mila Jovovich picks up the guns and actually shoots people. Love me some Mila. She's good. Believable. I don't know how. She's a model. She's less of a, like Megan Fox, you get the impression in real life, Megan Fox might throw hands. Whereas Mila Jovovich was a model. She's very petite and skinny. You get the impression she'd be like, no. But Mila, to me, is more realistic in that. Ardent, Sandal Bergman? I'm not sure who that is. What the? I just left my family and now they're texting me nonstop. What are you guys texting me something? A picture of New Jersey? Why? Oh, it's a video. I don't have time for this. Just left these people. Ardent, Grace Jones. She was in Conan too. She might be too old. I don't know. I haven't seen Grace Jones in eons. Let's see what the hell she's been into. She even alive? I don't think she's been in a movie in ages. She was born in 48. Oh, she's up there. She's definitely in her 70s. Oh, she was in something in 2016 called Gutter Damerung. So, I guess she's still alive. There's no death year here. 1948. She's 76. 76, right? Doing that math correctly, I think. Or 79. No. She'd be 76 plus 43. No. 70. No, more than that. I'm doing the math wrong. 80. No, she's 80. No. 5 off of that. 75. I'm doing it wrong. Okay. 1948. I'm thinking 43. She's 75. Still, though, black does not crack. Clint Miller. Sanhal Bergman from Conan the Barbarian. Spicy blonde barbarian chick. Oh, that's a name. Ardent, 75. Yeah. My math is a little off. I'm full of bananas Foster. Bergman. Let's see. Some of these people might be dead. I don't know. There she is. Last thing she was in is 2009. Born in 1951, so she's 72. So, you know, people start getting into their 70s, they start to look a little frail, so. Looking good in all these clips here. Raw Nerve. That's an 80s movie. Maybe that's why. Jan Michael Vincent. There's another guy. He's still alive. Ardent. Flaming Rum Nanners are good. Flaming Rum Nanners. I don't know what that is. Oh, you mean Bananas Foster. Now I get it. Nanners. All right. What else? Number 6, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. God, all these sequels. Kind of sick of them. 3 million in its third week. Dropping out of theaters. Everything's dropping out of theaters. Except The Expendables. It didn't even win number 1. My Big Fat Greek Wedding is a big fat Greek nothing. 29 million. I ain't gonna go. I don't even think this is gonna crack 40. Maybe cracks 40, not 50 though. That is not good. Airwolf special appearance in Expendables 5, says Ardent. Oh, what's the name? Hasselhoff. Hasselhoff's got to be in it. Was he in it yet? In the car? In Kit? That'd be great. Clint Miller, based on an original story. Which was Airwolf, Expendables, or My Big Fat Greek Wedding? Number 7, It Lives Inside. This sounds like a horror movie. 2.6 million. Yep. Looks like a horror movie, all right. Got a big giant claw on a girl's head. I think there's a horror movie. Yeah. 2.6 million. Only domestic. No international distribution as of yet from Neon. Ardent, yes, get the Hoff, right? It's almost 80s. I mean, he was in a few things at the tail end of the 80s. He was going to be Nick Fury, which would have been weird. I mean, he looked more like the actual Nick Fury than Samuel L. Jackson, but I think he's the bad casting choice. Yeah, you needed, like, I don't know, a guy who evokes sort of ex-army vibes. Like the guy who played the comedian in The Watchmen. Like that. I forget who that was. Clint Miller. I saw an older Studio Ghibli movie with the granddaughters. Remember Howl's Moving Castle? Some movies are timeless. I do not. Let's look that up. Stormy, Hoff with the saggy man boobies is gross. Well, now they wouldn't, they would put him in a girdle or whatever, a man's girdle, to make the illusion. Howl's Moving Castle, 2004. Oh, it really does move. Billy Crystal was in that movie. Lauren Bacall as the Witch of the Waste? Wow, that sounds fun. JC, Howl's Moving Castle is good. It looks cool. Christian Bale? Blythe Danner? Is Blythe Danner the one I'm thinking of from the 80s who was in some action movies? I don't think so, but the name sounds close. This does look good. Does look good. Howl's Moving Castle. Guys are teaching me all kinds of movies today. Yeah, so It Lives Inside, some kind of horror movie. 2.6 million is not bad. I mean, usually those movies are pretty cheap. 8 in its second week is Dumb Money. I don't even remember this movie from last week. I guess it was in like a handful of theaters. Yeah, it looks like it was only in 8 theaters. JC, yeah, Disney paid for the dubbing of the anime, got lots of stars to do the voices. That's probably the one I'm thinking of. Ardent, Danny McBride could work in Expendables. He played a bad guy in A River Runs Through It. Well, I think at that point you turned it into a comedy, but yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that. I wouldn't mind seeing the Expendables just turn into a dumb... I mean, it's already stupid to me. Here's Dumb Money. 2.6 million. 8 million. So... I don't know. This seemed... I mean, I understand why they did it. It's all about the GameStop thing. Didn't seem like there was a whole movie in it, but... I kind of like the idea. Clint Miller, Danny Masterson. No, Danny Masterson is done until his lawyers somehow get him out of prison, I guess. That's the thing about Masterson's case. It sounds incredibly weak and sounds like it's going to be litigated in an appeal where I don't know if he's going to walk free or, I mean, he might just end up walking free. Look at Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby got right the F out. Danny Masterson, same thing could happen. I mean, a lot of people said it was a very weak case. Carter Chain, were the Expendables ever serious? I mean, kind of the first one. I mean, it's not a straight up comedy, but it is over the top. I don't know. It just... These days, nobody does comedies anymore. They kind of do movies that are sort of funny, but not really. I wish people would do comedies again. Dumb Money is more of a true life story than it is a comedy. It's just... The whole situation's just kind of funny. Number 9, Blue Beetle in its 6th week. 1.8 million, dropping off the face of the earth. 122 million, and that's about where it's going to land. Maybe it cracks 130, maybe. At this point, I don't even think it's going to get that. This complete waste of money, in my view. Another stupid virtue... These are virtue signaling products. That's all they are. A bunch of executives got together and said, oh, we're going to put a Latina superhero in the theaters. Completely ignore history and comics. It's a shame, you know, because for some actors, this really hurts your career. Although somehow it didn't hurt Rachel Zegler's career to be in a flop, and now to be in what looks like 2 more flops. Somehow, I don't know. Is it because, like, well, she's young and soon she won't be young and be able to work, so we'll just keep putting her in stuff because people will forget her? I don't know. Now I see her and just go, ugh. Ardent. If I had the money, I'd put Mel Brooks and the remaining Monty Python guys in a room together and make whatever they came up with. That would be fun. Be fun just to see if those guys would work together, but who knows, you know. Everybody works differently. You know, the Python guys, they've always worked together, although working together for a long time can drive you apart too, so they're all doing separate things now. John Cleese is tweeting. Michael Palin was... I mean, he was in The Death of Stalin, and he's brilliant in it. He's absolutely brilliant in it. Which one just died? Terry Jones is the last one to die, I think. Graham Chapman was dead for a while. And then I think Terry Jones died, right? And then the rest are still alive. And what's the name? Terry Gillingham's. He's been doing he's been off on his own thing for a while. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see them all get together, but I think Mel Brooks is retired. I think Mel's just too old to even. I mean, he sort of participated in History of the World, which was kind of cool, but. JC, Michael Palin does a lot of BBC documentaries. That's cool. That's good, solid work. Yeah, like John Cleese kind of got canceled, but like for nothing. Like John Cleese is still flaming liberal guy on Twitter, but he kind of got canceled by the left and just kind of sticking to his guns, and he's like the last guy on the liberal ship. You know, the actual liberal ship, and nobody's helping him. I feel bad for him. Yeah, but this Blue Beetle, Oppenheimer, 1.6 million, which is almost exactly half of Barbie. Man, how does that track so closely? It's crazy. Number 10, 925 million. Not gonna get to billion though. Nah, maybe on, streaming. It'll get pushed over, but not in theaters. So close though. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. 1.6 million. Who cares? It's already made its money back in toys. Somehow. 172 million. This is pure nostalgia bait when you get right down to it, because who the hell's buying these toys? I don't think a lot of them are new kids. I don't think there are a lot of new kids going, "Oh, I want the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles." I think it's parents going, "I remember the Ninja Turtles. Let me buy you a Ninja Turtle, Timmy. Here." And that's a good strategy. I think that's why they sold $1 billion worth of toys. Now, some of that is just stuff that's sitting in the stores, but they're making a TV show on this. So, Paramount's coming out with a TV show based on this exact lineup of turtles and, I guess, voices. They'll probably have different guys do the voices, but. Ardent. It's the member berries. Member the Ninja Turtles? Member? Gran Turismo, based on a true story. 1.5 million. This movie kind of hit big and then disappeared. 110 million. That is not money. That can't be money. This movie had to be expensive to make. With all the cars. Whether they drove the cars or it was CGI, and it was probably CGI. Ain't no way this is money. I don't think. It's had to cost them it had to be like 100 million to make this. Had to be. But it's Sony, so probably a little better at managing the money part. It felt like they advertised it, but not a lot. I would say this was like 100 million budget and then like 50 million in the advertising. So what's that put it at? Yeah, it's still about 40 million short. And it's going away. I mean, it's disappearing. I think it just got hammered with all this competition. Otherwise, it probably would have done better. And I don't know, when could you release this? Maybe like a February release probably would have done better. It's a dumping ground for bad movies, but if it's halfway decent and people like it, rises to the top. That's what happened to the first Daredevil movie. Even though it wasn't very good from what I hear. The re-release of Stop Making Sense at number 13. $800,000. Worldwide, this thing has made $5 million. I assume this doesn't count the money you made back in 1984, but it might. It's a concert movie, so probably didn't cost a lot of money, and they're probably going to videotape the damn thing anyway. Bottoms, the comedy, number 14, 11 million. I don't think there's any way they could release this internationally because it's about lesbians and high school in America. So maybe you could release it in Canada, get a Canadian release and make another 5 mil. Maybe you could release it in England and places in Europe. And that's about it. Maybe Australia. But yeah. I mean, 11 million. The cast was probably all scale. Mostly. So you could have made this movie for under 11. I mean, you could. If you're really tight with it. I didn't see it, so it's kind of hard to totally judge, but high school movies aren't super expensive if you have access to the high school. I mean, you shoot it over the summer and get out before the new year. You have access to all the high school stuff you need. You shoot it all. You know, you shoot all the high school stuff the moment school's let out. The moment you have access to the school, you shoot all the school scenes. And then you finish all the school scenes and get the hell out because the kids will be coming back to school. And then you shoot the rest of the stuff in houses and whatnot. Haunted Mansion, still in theaters. Still in 605 theaters. $475,000. This was a bomb, I think, for Disney. 107. Yeah, it's not money. I mean, at least it's an advertisement for their ride for the twos of people who are now going to the parks, I guess. But Haunted Mansion is so generic, though. That's the problem with it. To me, the name is so generic. Even Pirates of the Caribbean, initially as a ride, was so generic. But Johnny Depp brought so much to it, it became a thing. This, I don't know. I guess you could have done the same sort of thing with it. I guess Owen Wilson kind of tried to do that, but didn't really work out. Movie didn't seem to be about him anyway. Number 13, 14, 15, 16, Talk to Me. They're already talking about the sequel to this thing. I think they've already gone into production. I mean, 65 million. It definitely didn't cost a lot of money. It looked cheap. I mean, I don't mean that in a negative way, but it looked like they didn't spend a lot of money on it. So this one, they'll spend a little more money and maybe they do slightly better. The Hill, the baseball movie. I don't think this is money. 7.5 million with Dennis Quaid? No way. No way. No way that's money. Strays, $175,000, 34 million. This is why they don't make comedies. They don't make a lot of money. And then you can't ship them overseas. I Can, which is a new movie. Looks like a female baseball movie. $165,000. What the hell is I Can? All right, we gotta look this up. I can, 'cause I'm a girl. Yep, girl baseball movie. An adulterous couple's daughter was born with one arm, but her softball skills reveal God's true grace. Oh, wow, that wasn't what I expected. So she's born with one arm, and then there's a religious aspect to it. Interesting. And it's softball. Okay. I mean, it sounds inspirational. Doesn't sound like people are digging it, though. 165K. How many theaters was it in? 136. It's not great. Golda from Bleecker Street, $94,000. Here's where, now we're getting down into nothing. This movie did not do well, but this is going to be Oscar bait for Helen Mirren. I mean, she's getting at that age. They're going to be like, oh, we got to get her an Oscar. She's at the age. She's been in a bunch of big movies. Clint Miller, become a believer, Tony. I am a believer, Clint. I believe I'll have another iced tea. Ardent, sounds like the Soul Surfer, only with softball. Golda. I mean, if they throw Oscars at it, maybe they'll re-release it. It's a little early though for Oscar season. Well, they're talking about it already, so maybe it's not that early. Americazzi, $82,000. The Origin of Evil, brand new from IFC Films, in 206 theaters, $45,000. Ouch. It's a foreign movie, though. And it did better internationally, $160,000. That's not much better, but let's see. Let's see what this movie was. The Origin of Evil. Looks like it came out last year. A woman on the verge of financial collapse attempts to reconnect with her wealthy estranged father and his new family. Oh, okay. So she's reconnecting with her rich dad, hoping to get some money, I guess. And it's a foreign film, so weird things happen. Looks like he touches her in that trailer. Yeah, that's creepy. Elemental somehow is still in theaters. Clint Miller, The Origin of Evil. Is that my first wife's life story? Clint. Oh, we're going to do first wife joke now? I'm tempted, but I'm going to pass. I don't want to be that guy. But I feel you. I feel you, Clint. So, Elemental, still hanging around somehow. $482 million. I mean, compared to some of the movies we're looking at, that did pretty well. Although I don't think they made money on it. They spend too much on these animated things. My sailor, my love. My sailor, my love. This sounds like a very romantic movie. Or something very dirty. I haven't decided. Let's see what this looks like. Also a movie that came out last year. Probably a foreign film. A retired sea captain and his daughter must reassess their strained relationship after he begins a new romance with a widowed housekeeper. Okay. I mean, that sounds fine. I could see this in an art house movie, maybe. Yeah, it's about relationships. Clint, will Stormy be your first wife? Arden? I think so. I'm guessing. But I believe so. Don't want to speak for him. Fremont. It's going out of theaters. Oh, wait. No, they added it to theaters. It's only in 34 theaters. This is art house, I guess. 26,000. Jules, 12,000. Theater Camp, 12,000. Ooh, What Doesn't Float is in one theater. It's done $5,000. What Doesn't Float. Okay. I like the movie poster. Doesn't really tell me anything. Ardent, yep, first one I've managed to trick properly. Nice. What Doesn't Float. Here it is. Come on. IMDb. Obey me. Obey me. website. No, doesn't want to load. Doesn't want to go there. Alright. I don't know what it's about. Here, let's try it this way. Just search the whole damn web. What doesn't float? From Wikipedia. American anthology dark comedy. Oh, that sounds cool. Directed by Luca Balzer, from the screenplay by Shauna Fitzgerald. It features an ensemble cast including Pauline Chalamet. I wonder if she's related to Timothy. Film tells 7 different stories taking place in New York City. Okay. Clint Miller, you're a chick magnet. I'm a chick ferret? Hey, electrical engineers think that's hilarious. Electrical engineering comedy. It's a untapped market. Truly. Yes, electrical engineers, Joe. And Rebel with $4,000. Clint. Ferrite essentially blocks magnetic fields. Ah, nice. Nice. And that is the weekend chart, 48 million. That doesn't sound like a lot. Weren't we at 80 last week and way more the weeks prior? Yeah, 62. 88. Wow, it's dropping like a stone here for the weekend. 89. So back in August, we were in 90 territory, and now we're in half that. That is not good. And they've been on strike for how many months? What's left to even release? Ardent. Stormy says I better say something nice about her now. She's prettier than me. There you go. There you go. Yeah, not a lot coming out. I don't know what these guys are going to do other than continue to lose money. I don't know what the theaters are going to do. They're going to continue to lose market share, I think, to Fathom Events. And I think there's one other service like that. They might as well start showing classic movies. I'd rather go see a classic movie for $5 than to see most of this crap. Ardent, barely. I mean, it's like a wasteland of movies. The summer kicked up for a little while, but Clint, LOL, duck, Ardent, ha ha ha. All right, let's get into the trades. Variety, Expendables 4 misfires. Tumbled to franchise low of 8.3 million. Its box office debut. Yes. Yeah, and like Sylvester Stallone, I mean, he doesn't look bad, but he doesn't look great. You know? He's not aging gracefully, and it's like parts of him look younger, but not all the parts of him, you know? It's like he can't hold it back. You know, the guy's old. And now he can't look old. He can't really look old. But he can't look young either. He just sort of looks, I don't know, like his face is frozen in time. Like he's permanently 68 years old. And dyeing his hair. That's the other thing, too. Dyeing your hair always looks bad on guys, I think. I've done it. And it works for like, you dye your hair, and for like a day, you look fantastic. Oh, look how dark my hair is. Oh, you're looking young. Good job. You know, assuming you don't get dye all over your head and neck. But then 2 days go by, and if you're Italian, like me and Stallone, your hair grows, and then you could see the roots. Just ridiculous. Ardent, ow. Clint Miller, yo, Adrian. And like it looks like he dyed his hair and it already grew out. It's like he can't dye the stubble fast enough. Ardent, Tulsa King was half decent, showed some range, but it was clunky. Stormy, I am the lucky one. He's so damn hot. Nice. See? She knows how to make nice comments. Good job, Stormy. Ardent, fire, and ghost. Is that a ghost? What is that little symbol? Oh, a chick. Oh, hot chick. Nice. I thought it was a ghost. A little yellow ghost. Usher is confirmed as Super Bowl halftime performer. I didn't even know he was still making music, but okay. Blast from the past. I always pick somebody who's like popular but not current. Because, I don't know. They're afraid of current people. Clint Miller, hot chick, yep. Dan Harmon's Crapopolis takes a strong voice cast to Ancient Greece TV review. Anybody watch that show? It didn't look great in the clips I saw. It looked okay. It felt like more of an Adult Swim show. It looked to be too, I don't know, too niche for like a general audience show. Not sure why they greenlit it for Fox. Because I'm positive Dan Harmon had tons of ideas. He's an improv guy. He could rattle off ideas all day. But, I mean, it looks fine. Like, for an Adult Swim show, it looks good. For like a Fox show, I don't know, man. I don't think people are going to get into the Greek gods that much. I think you needed something a little broader than Greek gods. Lauryn Hill reunites the Fugees at Global Citizen Festival, raises $240 million in commitments to fight world hunger. I don't like the name of this. Global Citizen. I don't like that name. I don't like global in anything now. Too close to globalists, too close to the World Economic Forum. I find it all sus now. Will the 240 million actually go to fight hunger? Will it actually go to fight hunger? I have my doubts. But all right, the WGA and the AMPTP to meet Sunday today. And they are close to a deal. But the actors haven't heard a peep about their deal. So maybe what I think the studios are doing here is they're going to cut a deal with the writers and let the actors suffer for another few months while they get the writers back to work writing things that they can't produce anyway for till the new year, let's say. And they'll let the actors suffer for a few more months. I'm not a huge union guy. It's like, I want to believe that they're good, but I see precious little evidence of it. It just seems like they're good for the people who are in it, but it's impossible to get in it. And the people that seem to get in these unions are just relatives and friends of union members. Which, I understand that kind of happens anyway, but I think it should be more merit-based. But I'm not quite sure how you do that with a union. There you go, Joan. Jones, I need a break from Joan. Heating up my lap. So, I don't know. Because it's always the older guys who run these organizations, and they're not on the cusp of what's happening or what's good, or they're like 20 years in the past. And they're also got their own careers to worry about. You know, the young guys, they're even worse to run it because these days they're all a bunch of communists. So I'm not sure what the answer is. I mean, and believe me, these studios would steal everything if they could. I mean, they're pretty ruthless. I think I think really it's the studios need to kind of die just like all the other big institutions are dying, right? Like if the studios all kind of collapse, then it'll be hopefully small movies doing what they can to make a good film and then putting them out there on these various platforms, like that kind of thing. I think the writers should have worked on a project while they were on strike. A project that would be outside the studio system. Maybe a group of them could have worked on it, maybe acted in it. I mean, some of them are probably actors. And part of the problem, too, and somebody said it today, I think it was on the Critical Drinker podcast, they've let too many people in the Writers Guild that don't belong there. They're not really writers. But because of certain rules, because of certain political machinations behind the scenes, they've let all these other guys in, too. And I've said it a million times. It's like these writer-directors, writer-producers, they're not really writers. They're just like, oh, I came up with an idea. Give me half the money now, writer. It doesn't seem fair. Writing's a real skill. I mean, I'm totally biased, but I don't want to share my credit. I've been forced to a couple of times, but I didn't like it. I got in arguments, and that's why I have no money. But yeah, I mean, the writers are not respected in my view. But maybe they'll get their deal first, and that'll be good. I don't know. Uber and Robert De Niro deny reports of reviving taxi driver role for UK TV commercial. Oh. Well, yeah, I thought that was weird. Even for Robert De Niro, who seems to be like taking every gig that comes his way, I thought that was a little lowbrow for him to recreate, Travis Bickle. Nose is running. For a commercial, yeah, that did seem weird. So, good on him, I guess. Guess he could go back to doing that grandpa movie with SAG-AFTRA. Ardent, the pen is mightier than the sword and easier to conceal. It's true. Terry Kirkman, the Association singer and founding member, dies at 83. Well, that's a pretty good run. Sad to hear. Invincible creator Robert Kirkman wants animated series to run for 7 to 8 seasons. That would be enough to cover the entire comic. Okay, I mean, I hope he gets it. But, is anybody watching it? I mean, a lot of people talked about the first season. I think the hump for a lot of these shows used to be five seasons. No, you need 100 episodes. So that's about 100 episodes. If it's 13 a season, I don't know how many they're doing. 8 times 13 would be 104. But I don't think they're doing 13 episode runs anymore. I think they're doing 10. So in order to get it syndicated, you needed 100, but it's streaming, so nobody syndicates anymore. So I guess it doesn't matter. Not sure what he's getting for it, but another thing with Robert De Niro is apparently he's the co-owner of Nobu, that fancy Japanese place, and it's franchised, Ardent or Six. And the one in Malibu is being sued by former staff for sexual harassment. So it's kind of a big scandal because the one in Malibu is like very fancy and it's for like players. There used to be another restaurant called Spago that was very fancy that all the Hollywood guys went to. That was like in the 80s, I think. or 90s. And then there's different restaurants over the years. You know, the restaurants to go to be seen or whatever. A lot of them were celebrity owned or co-owned. But it's kind of a big scandal, you know, with all the stuff that's going on with the canceling of Russell Brand and what happened to Danny Masterson. It's like, well, you got a big scandal here, and then the entertainment, they kind of mention it, and then it goes away. All right, moving on to Bounding into Comics. One of my favorite sites, by the way. Really has good coverage here. All right, so these are some of the stories from the week. Rumble rejects UK Parliament's request to demonetize Russell Brand, so that was very good. Ardent, if I lived in LA, I'd open a restaurant called Sketty and charge outrageous prices for SpaghettiOs. And you would probably get it. You know, as long as it all looked fancy. Like, it's all about the look in LA. It really is. Not really about the quality at all, I'd say. Sometimes with certain things, but mostly, for a restaurant, if you had the right people back in it, you know. Clint Miller, re-elect Bob Menendez. How dare you, Clint Miller? How dare you? Are we going to talk about Bob Menendez now? Oh my God, Bob Menendez. For those of you who don't know, Bob Menendez is one of my senators, and he's been indicted on many, many corruption charges, including taking solid gold bars as a bribe from the Egyptian government. A luxury car, trips, I believe. At one point, he had already been cleared of previous charges of taking money from one of his donors. I want to say he's based out of Florida, but also is in New Jersey. And the alleged crime was helping his donors, helping his donor get visas for his mistresses so they could come to this country. And he used his influence to do that, according to the charges. But he was cleared of that, and then he got money, apparently. But somehow he was cleared of that or beat the charges. I'm not sure which. But Bob Menendez has been on the top of the most corrupt senators on like these watchdog groups for years. And no one's done anything about it. And now it looks like they finally got him, or they're sacrificing him to make the rest of the Democrats look credible, or to distract everybody from the other many, many scandals. Clint Miller, sure. Ardent, Rumble had a bunch of advertisers drop out over Brand. Total BS. The guy hasn't even been charged. It's like nobody remembers what happened with Depp. Yeah. Yeah, not only that, Chris Noth, the same thing happened to him. He was accused, and they cut him from Sex and the City. He's one of the big main characters. Not the main characters, one of the main supporting characters. He was Carrie Bradshaw's longtime boyfriend, and the one she was eventually going to marry, I believe, in the story arc. And then they came back with this new sequel show called, I forget what it's called. It's not called Sex and the City anymore. And it's just a woke version of Sex and the City, and then they cut him out of it. They killed his character off. He hasn't been charged either. He's been accused. I don't think he's been charged with anything. I don't even think he's been sued. Although he may have been sued. I don't remember. And then his career is just, that's it. He was on Law and Order for years. He was like the main guy. Clint Miller, what a crook. Yeah, Bob Menendez. Ardent, at least he's got style. Menendez, yeah, he was Mr. Big in IIRC. Yeah, getting back to Menendez, though. Oh, so mad. Should have heard me on the Piney podcast. I had about 7 different articles based about him. I'll give you a quick rundown. So, all the Democrats in South Jersey want him gone because being a Democrat in South Jersey is kind of like being a Democrat in a redder part of your state. So they can't be like crazy leftist Democrats. They have to kind of be rootin' tootin' red Democrats. That's why Van Drew, who's in South Jersey, switched from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party, and he's still in office. Clint Miller. Democrats have supported criminals for decades. Here in Maryland, as one party, as New York and California, the state house is filled with defense attorneys who push laws to decriminalize crime. Yeah, well, I don't really know how that makes them money, but they just seem to follow these. It's like anybody who gets into politics immediately loses, and this is why I hate about DeSantis now. Like DeSantis running Florida was great, right? Making decisions, that's what you do as a leader. You make decisions. And then people react to you. The moment he got into the presidential race, he stopped doing that. He kept waiting and weighing, and then he would make a statement like 3 or 4 days after the fact. It's a terrible way to do it. You have to be in the forefront. The moment something happens, you got to be like, boom, this is what we do. That's decisive leadership. Even if you're wrong, which, like, you know, can cause you a problem, but at least you made a decision. Even if you make a wrong decision, you made it quickly. You can always backtrack later, I guess. Carter Chain, being a Dem in a purple area mellows them out, really? Hasn't stopped them here in Michigan. Well, because New Jersey isn't as blue of a state as you might imagine. Now, like a lot of states, the populated areas are deep blue, and the rest of the state is red. But right now, we already started overturning the legislature here. We had one of the most powerful guys in the legislature lose to Ed Durr, who was a trucker who ran on no money. He ran a YouTube campaign, and he beat one of the most powerful guys in Trenton. It was a big deal. And Phil Murphy, who got reelected governor, almost lost. And he was expected to it was expected to be a blowout, and then suddenly it was close enough that they were talking about a recount. But it didn't happen, so sadly. But next time, he's not going to be running because he can't run again. So there's no incumbent to beat. And every once in a while, Jersey flips red. But unfortunately, we get someone like Chris Christie. And Christie did a terrible job. He didn't do the worst job in the world, but he was not good in a lot of different ways. He was corrupt. He was stupid. He did a couple of things right, but some of them were by accident, and most of them he almost overturned. So, Ardent, Canada has a blatant uniparty issue now. Clint, the 1 million March for Kids revealed it, but Zelensky's visit confirmed it. The entire parliament gave him a standing out. Yeah, that's our main problem right now with the Ukraine. And here is, we can't stop the Ukraine aid because 160 Republicans in the House are like, oh, we're going to send more money. Because they're still in the old paradigm of like, oh, it's great to start a war in another country. The military-industrial complex is going to give me money. So it's bad. It's really bad. Fortunately, there are machinations. Sounds like they might be wrapping this thing. Sounds like, somebody from one of the very left-leaning press outlets, I forget which one, said today something like, people are starting to admit that the Ukrainians can't win. And when they start talking like that, it sounds to me like they might go, okay, let's force them into a peace deal and then rebuild the country and then continue to rip people off in different ways, which is what they'll do next. Weirdly enough, do I have the headline here? No. I don't know if you remember this crazy witch woman. She does something called spiritual cooking. Zelensky requested her to be the Ukrainian ambassador from America to the Ukraine, and that she come to the Ukraine and help rebuild the Ukraine schools. It's bizarre. But as far as Canada, look who Canada applauded today. Look who Trudeau applauded today with Zelensky there. I don't think I could say on YouTube who it was or what organization in the 40s he was a part of in Ukraine, but it's pretty bad. JC, worst part of Pierre is his foreign policy. Is he going to keep supporting the Ukrainians? Well, you got to get him in there. I mean, there's no choice. You have to get rid of Trudeau, and then hopefully you can pressure the conservatives. Ardent. Well, Biden doesn't know the Cold War is over. That's true. At JEC, I think the way the CPC rips off ideas from the PPC is worse, while also being as left as the libs. Yeah. You got to push them. You just got to keep pushing them. I think it's better to get even in New Jersey, we're going to get rhinos. It would be better to get the rhinos in and then push them right, or primary them in the next election. But, you run the risk of going right back to the Dems, but hopefully the Dem that replaces them isn't as bad. But right now the Dems have to go. There's just no other choice in my view. Clint, I was an enlisted service member. We didn't like to hear of wars and rumors of wars because we pay in our blood. Yeah, I don't blame you. It's terrible. These people have no common sense. They don't care about the soldiers, and then they come home and they screw them. We've been screwing the soldiers since the Revolutionary War. It's disgraceful. The Revolutionary War. The veterans from the Revolutionary War had to march and demand to get paid. They weren't paid. And then it got worse from there. Carter Chain. Was he an associate in the mid-century Germans? Yes, he was. The Ukrainians have a national hero named Stephen Bandera. He was in a unit very similar to Stephen Bandera's unit. And, according to the article I read, he was also accused of crimes that happened during that event. Now, his unit was accused, not him specifically, but still. Why would you honor the guy? He was in that camp, but it was so that Zelensky could, I think, can score points at home. Ardent. Bernier is the best choice. Melt the big dirty igloo. Is that what they're saying in Canada? That's pretty funny. JC, Trudeau is taking L after L this week. He's awful. God, as much as I can't stand Biden, you guys got it worse with Trudeau. You really do. Biden, for all his terribleness, he's so out of it. There's only so much he can do, because some things he has to do and he's incapable of doing it, and they don't want to push him too hard because I don't think they want to kill him, at least until they're ready to get rid of him. Clint Miller, one of the guys with the Black Sun emblem? No. It's not one of those guys because he's 98. He had the original emblem. Yeah. But getting back to Russell Brand, he makes his first public statement following sexual assault accusations. Invites supporters to follow him on Rumble because it's the only way you can keep our voice. This guy, they have dug into every single incident in his life. The latest one is from 2014, where he was accused of attacking a masseuse and had to talk to the cops. Now they've brought it all back. Now, as far as I know, he was clear to that, but JC, Bernier can't even get elected to Parliament. It's sad. That's sad. Well, people are going to learn the hard way, unfortunately. I mean, it may take a few generations, but, you know, just get the rhinos in there, and then, you know, we got to keep doing what we're doing. We got to change the media, change the culture, work hard. You know, I mean, at least if they turn New Jersey red, I can scream at my representatives and, you know, my local legislatures, and they'll listen because I'll be screaming the things that they should be doing, right? And then they know if they don't do them, I might lose the next election. I don't want to do that. So then they might do some of it, at least to appease the loudmouths. Whereas I've been screaming at Cory Booker and Robert Menendez and my representative in Congress, I think it's Donald Norcross. They don't care about me. They're in the Democratic Party. They probably took one, you know. My email just gets listed with all the others. Oh, some Republican crank. I'm not Republican, by the way. Some Republican crank says you ought to stop the war in the Ukraine. Oh, what an idiot. I mean, you can easily dismiss the other party. You can't dismiss the guys in your party if you want to stay in office. So, at JC from Ardent, at next election we'll see the PPC members elected. I'll guarantee it. Ardent, yeah, one of my buds, Liquid Swan, pointed out the pain will surely teach people to vote for change. Yeah, I mean, the problem with the lefties now is they're so intent on keeping power, I think they're willing to suspend the Constitution and do very extreme things. Which is why they need to go. Like, they need to go in such a huge wave. They need to be reduced to... They need to be pushed into the weeds for the next 20 years. I mean, they're just horrible. Even if that means a bunch of rhinos who sort of half-ass the same policies but do it a lot slower, I'd rather have that. That's still a slight improvement. And then while that's happening, hopefully you can build, you know, some more hardline guys within that. Carter Chain, as someone who works for the Republicans, they won't listen or care about you either. Well, that's not good to hear. But they care about their jobs and their money, I assume. And if they want to get reelected, they're going to have to do what I want. Or I won't vote for them because I'm not a Republican. And you get voted in this country by the independents. Period. So, also the Free State Project is working, I hear. The libertarians are taking over the state. Ardent at Clint Miller. Yeah, Bandera was more part of the precursor movement to the Black Sun guys. Yeah. Yep. This was wacky. Marvel Comics to relaunch the Ultimate Universe with new Ultimate Spider-Man series. Like, why are you going to relaunch this? But, you know, so we're going to get alternate Peter Parker, alternate Miles Morales. Who cares? Can't you just give Miles Morales his own title? Just bring him into the regular Marvel Universe if he's not already there. God, the ladies at Marvel continue to underwhelm me in every aspect. Ardent, the mid-century Germans? Yes. It's so weird that YouTube makes you talk about that era like that. It's so bizarre. It's like, don't you want to have people talk about that era so people remember that era badly and remember how terrible it was? This is the idiots who run YouTube, that they think that's a good idea. No, they can't talk about it. Why? Most people, 99% of people, are going to talk about those asshats as what they were. Morons. Terrible human beings. Most people. Yeah, there's going to be a few that say outrageous things for clicks or whatever. You can ignore them. You don't have to watch them. You don't have to give them clicks. People will vote them into oblivion. Back in the day when Howard Stern first had his forum, you had people like that on the forum, and they would just come in and say all kinds of crazy stuff. But there were some of those guys. They just got voted down into oblivion. People called them idiots. They called them all sorts of horrible names, and eventually they just all left. They had such a hostile reception to a normal group of people, as normal as Stern fans are. They couldn't spread any message. Initial cost for Rachel Zegler's Snow White film are already shockingly high, according to this article. Place your bets. I already know this one, but I don't know if you read this article. $209 million to remake Snow White live action. How dumb is that? All right, so you already don't have dwarves. You have the magical creatures or whatever. The costumes look like you got them out of a 99-cent store, according to those stills. Most of it's going to be about Rachel Zegler apparently being a great leader. Where's the effects? I assume they're not even going to do the dragon. That's the only big effect that would be in the entire movie, would have been the prince slaying the dragon. I don't think that's happening. Maybe you got some effects with the mirror. Like, where are you spending $209 million on this movie? Carter Chain. The argument is that no one remembers those Germans. No one will know their ideas or copy them. Yeah, see, that doesn't work, because what happens is people will then, unfortunately, come up with their own poor conclusions similar to those mid-century Germans, let's say, and then there'll be no comparison to go, well, this was a bad idea. And when they don't see that comparison, when they don't see people calling them out, they continue down that path too long. And once somebody sort of commits to these weird paths, they often refuse, they get emotionally invested, and even though they kind of know they're wrong, they stick to it anyway. It becomes their thing. So I think that's the exact opposite of the way to stop that, but I think you know that probably too, as most common sense people do. When you stop to think about things, it's all very clear. But when you're listening to YouTube, I mean, I said something today on the Piney podcast I'm worried I'm going to get flagged for, but I just said, God, it was just one sentence. Ardent. And it wasn't anything to do with this. It was something to do about a certain disease. Ardent. Off-White and the 7 diversity hires. LOL. Yeah. And why you would build a movie around this girl. First off, not that hot. Like, Margot Robbie walks into the office, I'll be like, give her a 3-picture deal. This girl, I'm just like, maybe put her in something? I mean, you know, especially after she already was in a bomb. She's already in Woke Side Story. West Side Story remake. They put a ton of money in it, and it flopped. It was directed by Steven Spielberg. Didn't win it. Did it win an Oscar? I know it was nominated. They left her off the invite for the Oscars. And then you're going to come back, and you're going to do Disney Snow White with her, your biggest cartoon ever. You're going to remake. First off, making a live-action remake of a cartoon is the dumbest thing ever, but it's doubly dumb to put her in it. And then you put Gal Gadot as the evil witch, the better looking of the two actresses by a mile long. Like, Gal Gadot, drop dead gorgeous. Now, is she too old to play Snow White? I don't think so. I think you could make Helen Mirren the queen. And then de-age her and then age her again. That would have been cool. Clint Miller, like, communism hasn't been implemented properly. Yeah. See, that's the other thing too. So if you were to cut out all the stuff about communism off of YouTube, people who are idiots, and there are many on YouTube, say, oh, well, I haven't heard all these bad things about communism. Maybe it'll work. Ardent, they picked Gal Gadot for the evil queen. Who's supposed to be jealous of the heroine's looks? Yet again, blah, ha, ha. Yeah. Like, can you imagine? Like, Gal Gadot, statuesque. Friggin' built like a brick S-house. Rachel Zegler's like a cute kid. She's like a cute teenager. And that's about it. Like, if you were doing a remake of Gilligan's Island, this is your Marianne, and Gal Gadot is Ginger. Easy. JC, the queen is supposed to be super hot, but she's getting old. She's jealous of Snow White's youth. Yeah, I get that, but she wasn't hot in the cartoon. Snow White was the hot one. She was... You would have to get somebody who used to be hot, who's older. Gal Gadot's like kind of in her prime, maybe just at the end of it. She is older than Rachel, but like you need someone smoking hot to be Snow White. I don't know who you could get, but somebody, one of the hot young starlets, I'm sure would be right for it. And then Gal Gadot's not right for the evil queen. I would pick Helen Mirren's like too old, but you could de-age her, and then in the scene where she gets old, you know, you could have a scene later where she gets old for some reason. Ardent, Christina Hendricks for Ginger, please. Yes. Yes. Who was super hot but is now kind of old and just showing it? I guess you would pick somebody from the 80s, like Michelle Pfeiffer, right? Like kind of hot enough that you remember the hotness, but you can't look. You obviously she has age. Someone like that. That would be the evil queen. Like she was hot, and you could even put a bunch of makeup on her and kind of maybe maybe a generation sooner. Somebody from the 90s, I'm trying to think. But somebody who's Carter at Ardent, I second that. Yeah, Christina Hendricks says Ginger. How old is she? But in terms of the young, yeah, she's not nearly hot enough to be like Snow White. Like, to me, you got to be like so hot, like I kind of break out into a sweat when I see it. And they're like, whoa, holy cow. That's what happened when I first saw Margot Robbie. Oh my God. First saw Margot Robbie, I'm like, who is this? Same thing with Amber Heard. Amber Heard, what the hell movie was she in? You got to see this movie. Just for Amber Heard, or just look up a still of it. Because now Amber Heard would be the evil white queen, quite frankly. She's the right age. Little too young for it, but oh, what the hell was this movie? The Informers. Man, she is smoking in this movie. Absolute peak Amber Heard. Ardent. Allison Hannigan would have been a good Snow White or Ginger. I don't know her. I'll look her up. Lindsay Lohan for Evil Queen. That's a good choice. I can't play this whole thing. I think that's Amber Heard there. Yeah, there she is. Peak Amber Heard right there. Hold on. Forgot that would happen. Let's see. There's a shot of her in a bikini in this movie. It's a terrible movie, by the way. Yeah, this scene is weird because she's got all these marks on her, but there's another shot of her in the bikini. Let's see. Let's check out. Allison Hannigan. Oh, yeah. Sure. She's cute for Ginger. She'd be good for the Evil Queen, too, quite frankly. She's at the right age. Too bad Helen Hunt looks like shoe leather now. Yeah, she aged really poorly, Clint Miller. Ardent played Willow and Buffy, yes. So, moving on. Financial analyst calls for Disney to pull Marvel and Star Wars from Disney Plus after Ahsoka's premiere numbers show significantly declining viewership. Carter Chain. Hilary Duff was making the rounds on Twitter these past couple of days. She was very hot. She'd be a good Evil Queen. Yeah, this show, Ahsoka, I mean, the Star Wars fans, how many times you got to get your heart broken at this point? You know? This is it. You're at the end of the road. This is the end of the road. Ahsoka was it. That was it. It was your last chance to fix Star Wars. And what is this? It's another, in my view, subpar Star Wars show that Disney just farted out there. They can't. They put together like 2 good shows, I think, and then the rest is all like, and I don't even think those sound very good. It just sounds like a lot of potential being wasted. Ardent. Hilary Swank, maybe? Is Hilary Swank ever good looking? I mean, she's okay, I guess. I think the Evil Queen needs to be at one time very hot, but now is older, but like is showing her age. Like Gal Gadot isn't showing her age yet. She's still prime, in my view. Hilary Swank was never super hot. I mean, she's got a great body, but she's not. She's in her face is not hot. And that's not nice to say, but it's true. I mean, she's got like, I don't know how to describe it. Like she doesn't have like Margot Robbie nose, you know? Like no, Margot Robbie has like perfect face. Like perfect. JC, she's pushing 40, the wall is coming. Carter Jane, is it me or is there too much fan service in Star Wars these days? The problem with Star Wars is the same problem with Marvel. It's, and I tried to make a video about this, and I could talk about it on here. 8-Bitten is here. Hello. Jennifer Connelly is probably too old. Maybe not for the Evil Queen, because she still looks hot, and you could see that she was hot. Like Helen Hunt, like it's gone. I don't know what happened. Melanie Griffith looks weird, but like Jennifer Connelly still looks pretty good. She's got like Linda Carter going on. Like, you know, Linda Carter looked amazing when she was in her 60s. I mean, just absolutely phenomenal. Like, she would come on a TV show and you'd be like, oh my God, that's Linda Carter. She looks incredible. She's 60. You know, now she's in her 70s. She's finally starting to show it, but she just, what a regimen she must have to keep herself young. Holy cow. And Donna D'Errico's like that from Baywatch. I keep seeing her on the New York Post and her OnlyFans pictures, but she looks amazing. And according to her, she really hasn't had any surgery. Maybe she had a couple of tucks, but it was very light if she did have any. And she looks really hot. And she's 54. Clint Miller, how's Rachel Weisz looking now? I don't know. I do not know. Let's check in. I haven't seen her in a while either. Yeah, she'd be a good Evil Queen. I don't know what this is. It must be our latest flick. Some She's looking good. Oh, she's in the Dead Ringers TV series. I don't know why they did that. Weird call. Ardent. The wrong fans, maybe. The ones who never understood the characters. 8-Bit and Jennifer is my age. I think we are a month apart. She is 53 now. Yeah, she looks great. I would date the hell out of Jennifer Connelly. Ardent. Watched Alita with Stormy the other day. Jennifer Connelly is still really attractive. Yeah, I mean, she's in Maverick. She looks great. Clint Miller. What's with these girl bosses? How many of the fanboys identify with these badass chicks? None of them. They don't watch. Ardent. Helen Bonham Carter would be a good evil queen. She'd be good just because she's she's good in those roles. I don't think she'd be necessarily great for the look, but I think her acting would overcome that. She's like good looking enough, but she's not like formally hot. But she could make that work because she's just great in those roles. But as far as girl bosses, yeah, I was trying to do a video about just the gender swapping. It's just infuriating. It's so undermining to, and this is the thing. It's like you enable less talented people in these roles by doing that. It's just a natural consequence from saying, okay, we're going to put women in it. We're going to put tons of women in this, whatever it is. In this case, it's Star Wars and the MCU. And it just, you force these people up, and it's like, they're not ready. They didn't earn their spot. You're just forcing them in there. There are a handful of girl boss characters that do work. But there's not a lot of them, and until you develop them, just flipping the guy bosses into girl bosses just doesn't work. Because what happens is, I think they go to the studios and like, look, we have this script, and it's another Star Wars thing, or it's another MCU thing. It's based on this comic character, and the studio says something like, well, there are not enough women in this because they're just so tunnel vision on this ESG stuff or whatever it is. Maybe there are women too who feel like, oh no, we got to make it appeal to women, and they're caught up in the virtue signaling. Whatever it is, they just say, put more women in it, and we'll give you the money. And they go, okay, and they do that, and they change almost nothing else, and it becomes, and it's not enough just to switch the roles. They also switch the writers up, and they switch the production people. So now it's a bunch of girls, mostly, sitting around telling themselves, yes, we're good. Yeah, are you good? Yeah, I'm good. We're girls. We're good. We're good. We deserve this. Yeah, we deserve this. That's not how you build a show. That's not how guys build. The way guys do it is, hey, asshat, go direct this show. All right, jerk. I'll get my friends. I'm going to hire a bunch of my idiot friends. Hey, idiots, do you want to work? Yeah, we'll work. Stop calling us idiots. And they snipe at each other. And that sniping forces you to be better. Because that's the way guys treat each other. You can only outprove your coworkers by being better. That's it. Yeah, you can insult them more, but you can only do so much of that before the boss goes, hey, enough. So the only real way to make strides is merit. Whereas women are going to go, oh, I support you. How was that take? Oh, it was good, Cindy. It was good. Was it? Was it really good? You're a good director. Oh, am I? Thank you. It's like you're just enabling each other, even though you're not good. Or you're not at good enough, I'll say. It's not that they're completely incapable. It's just that they're not being tested. You have to be tested. Sorry, I'm ranting. Where did I leave off? Ardent. Helen Bonham Carter would be a good evil queen. Carter. Chain. All right, I'm going to have to report this stream to the horny police. Ardent at Clint. I always thought Leia was awesome, but she wasn't girl bossing. Yeah. because she wasn't completely in charge. She was a competent girl character in a world that was mostly dominated by men. That was the implication. So she was the one girl who was like, give me that phaser. Right? She grabs the gun out of Luke's hand. Come on, we got to get out of here. Blam! And then they escape into the garbage pit. And it wasn't like she made a perfect decision, but she saved him in that moment, and they all kind of worked together. And then she ended up in a romance with Han, and the rest is history. But she wasn't, it wasn't that the men were incompetent. They were all they had all their strengths and weaknesses. And it was clear Han and Leia had a thing going because they were sniping at each other. Clint Miller. Carter Chain, please don't. Ardent. Writing bonk on a stick now. I don't know what you guys are doing. But, yeah, what they need is... I'll tell you a story. I got to tell this in a way that I don't identify people. So, I know someone who was in a acting troupe, I'll say. And the acting troupe was very unfocused, and the director yelled at the group and focused them up, and they had a good play. But then the play was over, and the women were insulted by the yelling, even though they had a good play. And the object of the game was the good play. But for the women in that moment, that was superfluous. They didn't care how good the play went off. They didn't care that they were unfocused. They didn't care. All they cared about was, you talked to me. You didn't talk to me the right way. I'm upset. And that took precedence over everything. And that kind of attitude on the set, I think, ruins things. Because if you're in LA and you're directing one of these shows and you're afraid to give real feedback to your actors, you're going to get terrible performances out of them. They don't know what to do. And if they're going to be so sensitive that every time you say, no, that's terrible, let's try it this way, and yes, you can be a little more tactful when working with professionals, but real professionals kind of just don't care. Like Christopher Lee, there was another, they show this video all the time about Christopher Lee and Peter Jackson directing him and being stabbed. And Christopher Lee spoke up and said, no, I don't think you would make a sound like that if a guy was being stabbed. When I stabbed a guy, it kind of went like this. And because Christopher Lee had been in the OSS and he had killed guys and he had fought in World War II. So, he wasn't a problem, let's say. But in that particular instant, Christopher Lee said, whoa, I know something here, let me contribute. And that's fine. So, if an actor does know something, if an actor is, for instance, they went to veterinary school for 2 years, and you're playing a role in which you're playing a vet, and something in the script isn't quite right, or it's not quite the way a veterinarian doctor would do something, you might go, wait a minute, we should probably do it this way because vets do X, Y, and Z. That's not being a problem on the set. That's helping to clarify the scene. Being a problem on the set is, you can't talk to me that way. That's a problem. That's a problem person who now you regret even casting them. Because now, what do? How do you respond to someone who goes, you can't talk to me that way? Now you have to watch your tone of voice. That's not productive. So, it has to be productive on the set. And look, it gets intense. And sometimes you say something and you've been at it for 11 hours and it's hot and you're tired and you just want to go home and all you had all day was pizza and you didn't even have the good pizza because the crew guys ate all the pepperoni before you got to the craft service table. Whatever. It can get frustrating and sometimes you blow your top or whatever. But real professionals, they go, okay, I know for next time, I'll learn from this experience and move on. People who aren't professional will say, oh, I didn't get pepperoni on my pizza. Stop the presses, everybody. So, and there are people like that. I'll tell another story I have to tell in a careful way. So, I'll say it was a movie, although it wasn't. There was a movie in which I'll say the two leads, it was like the good guy and the bad guy. And the guy playing the good guy wasn't really an actor. And we had basically cast him because he looked the part. The guy who was the actor was playing the bad guy. And he was the biggest effing problem on 2 Feet. Complained about everything, complained about his makeup, said we didn't do enough rehearsal, just went on and on, complained about every aspect of it. And he kept saying, he's the actor, I'm going to bring something to this role, and blah, blah, blah. So come time for the shoot, and the guy who wasn't the actor, he was great. He came out, he did his part, he was perfect. The actor, he was terrible. He was stammering over and everything. I had to move in. I was in it too. And I said I had to cover up some lines. He flubbed and he just couldn't. He was not an actor. Or if he wasn't professional, or he was so rattled he couldn't even figure it out. And he was playing like a very easy role, a very classic role. He didn't have to do much. He just had to come out and say like 4 or 5 lines. He couldn't memorize the lines. It was a nightmare. So that's what you deal with on the set. Now at that level, you shouldn't even be dealing with that. But these people get paid so much money and they're so full of themselves and they have an agent and they have this and they have that and they sit in makeup for 7 hours and blah, blah, blah. And then they come out on the set and if you piss them off, I'm going back to my trailer and calling my agent. I don't have to take this. It's a nightmare. So I understand why sometimes they let certain things slide, but you can't have it completely unglued. You have to have a guy. The director should be in charge. And the director has to be decisive about everything. This is what we're shooting. We shoot this. You shoot the shot and go yes or no. That was a good take or that was a bad take. And if you can't do that, you're not a director. You get fired. If you're running over budget, you get fired. It's very simple. But if you're not applying those metrics to everything, and I don't think they're applying them to Marvel and Star Wars because of all the reshooting rumors we've heard about on Doomcock's channel mainly. Lots of reshooting, MCU stuff, and Star Wars reshot again and again and again and again. That is not decisive. That is the worst news. That's worse than it just being bad. Because at least when it's just bad, well, they only shot it once. They didn't waste that much money. But my God, if you reshot it and it's still bad, you reshot the whole show. They reshot, or apparently they were going to shoot the entire season of Echo. I don't know if they reshot it or not. I don't think they did. They may have. There's rumors they've reshot entire series. They got all this footage, like, of nothing. It's nothing. And when you keep shooting and shooting and shooting, you lose the thread of the story. It's like you're writing the story. Imagine you're writing a story. Imagine you're writing something like the Pineys. The Pineys is about 130 pages, every book, right? And there are 13 chapters. They're all about 7 to 10 pages each, depending. So imagine you're just writing alternate chapters all day long. You haven't gotten to the end, but you keep writing alternate chapters. Well, you write 10, 15 alternate chapters of something, you won't even remember where the story is. Your mind will be scrambled trying to figure out, well, wait a minute, which is the chapter that's part of it and which is the chapter or not. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to write, my books have 13 chapters. They're trying to write 23 chapters and then going back and taking 10 chapters out and hoping it still makes sense. It can make sense if you make everything so generic it couldn't possibly conflict with anything, but that doesn't make for a good story. That's what they're doing with movies. They're going in and they're shooting 5 hours of footage and then cutting it down to 2.5, and it should probably be cut to 90 minutes. It should probably be cut to an hour and a half, and that's not going to work. You need a vision. You need a script, one that you follow. You do all that stuff in the script development phase. Like when I talk to the producer or director and I'm writing a screenplay, you write the screenplay. It's a page a minute. You do the first act, second act, third act, end. And each one is about 30 pages. Usually the second act is like longer. And the first one's a little shorter. And the final act is the shortest one because it's fast. And you go from about 20 pages in the first act, 40 pages in the second act, or maybe 30 pages in the first act, 40 pages in the second act, and 20 pages in the third act. And that's a rough estimate, but it usually pans out. It doesn't have to be exact. But you have a beginning, middle, and end. And you have things that happen, and there's a story arc. There's a map of things. So if action takes place in a house, you know where all the rooms are. If action takes place on a campus, you know where all the buildings are. Whatever. And you go from beginning to end. And that's it. If you decide to shoot the same movie and like, well, it's a campus, but maybe we'll add a 15th building and shoot a scene here, and we might add it, we might not. That impacts the whole thing. You don't shoot side scenes. Anything that doesn't move the story forward has to be cut. It's gone. It's superfluous. We don't need a scene where we find out Spider-Man's favorite cup of coffee. We just don't need that scene. It's irrelevant. Unless coffee is important at the end of the movie, we don't need to see it. It just shouldn't be there. Now, you could say, oh, well, we're shooting extras for the DVD or whatever. That's not what you shoot. That's not the important stuff. That's extra. Like the kind of scenes that used to get cut out of movies were, in Star Wars, the Han scene with Jabba the Hutt got cut out. Why? Well, the movie was running a little long. They decided to tighten it up. They decided to dump little side characters that weren't relevant in that first movie. Jabba was not all that relevant. He was talked about, but he wasn't seen. Same thing with Luke's friends. There are two friends that are joining the resistance that Luke talks to in a cut scene in Star Wars. It's cut from the movie. It's totally superfluous. If you watch the scene, you go, oh yeah, I can see why they cut this. Because you don't see, I think you see one of them at the end. He's one of the guys at the Death Star. And I think there might be one other scene with one of those characters. But it's just, it slows down the movie. You don't want to slow down the movie. You don't want to slow down the TV show. I'll tell you exactly what Ahsoka should be. The first scene in Ahsoka should be Ahsoka in a lightsaber battle. That should be the opening shot. JC, they took a hatchet to the original Star Wars cut. Oh yeah. God, I saw that recut where they added all the effects. Man, it ruins the pacing. It absolutely destroys it. The pacing on the original is tight as F. You watch the extras with a bunch of extra Jawas and droids running around. Oh, it ruins it. Absolutely ruins the pacing. Ahsoka should be like the biggest action thing ever. It should start with Ahsoka dropping down into a cantina, fighting guys, and just slaying dudes left and right. For what? And then you explain why it happened later. You know, she goes into some deep, dark, I don't know, evil criminal lair and just starts cutting guys in half. Ardent, good night all. We old married couples need our sleep. Aw, have a good sleep. I'm gonna wrap soon because we're 2 hours in, and I am ranty. Now I'm ranty. The iced tea's finally hit me. All right. Let's see. Clint Miller, dancing Jawas. Yeah. No, thank you. And look, Ahsoka premiere viewership numbers worse than Mandalorian Season 2 and Obi-Wan Kenobi according to Nielsen numbers. Yeah, because people gave it a shot because they're desperate for Star Wars to come back. And it was a bunch of girl boss nonsense. And it's like, oh, we'll stab people with the lightsaber this time. Let's ignore physics and how these things work. JC, I mean, Lucas's dialogue was edited down to bare minimum you needed to understand what was going on. It's crazy if you watch George's work cut. I don't think I've seen that one, but I've seen, those extra scenes. Clint Miller, good night. Take good care of him, Stormy. And here's another one. Leslie Jones continues to lash out at Ghostbusters critics, describes them as sad keyboard warriors living in their mother's basement. Leslie Jones should not be lashing out. I mean, she must be desperate for attention, I think, to do this. And it's like, the clips I've seen of that movie, she is awful in it. And in her defense, it feels like she's trying to lift the comedy aspect of that movie all by herself. I don't think McCarthy and Wig are helping her at all. They're doing some kind of low-key bits that do not land. She's trying to, inject some energy to it. Kate McKinnon's kind of doing her wacky character. I don't know. None of it was a good idea. But, this doesn't help you at all. God, this doesn't help you. If anything, you should forget about this and move on. Or, if you're going to say anything about it, say, oh, I was just happy to be in there. I'm sorry people didn't like the movie. That's what you say. You sound humble and positive. You don't sound, angry. Look, I've been involved with movie projects. They didn't come out the way I like, but whatever. I don't blame people. I tried my best. It's not my fault. I didn't direct the damn things, but, you try sometimes. And sometimes you make a decent movie, nobody goes to see the damn thing. Sometimes you make a terrible movie and everybody loves it. And you go, what the hell? So, Leslie should not do this, in my view, but she is spending too much time on the internet. A lot of these guys are. And granted, she didn't make as much money as the 3 other cast members. They were all super famous. I didn't know who the hell you were till you were in this movie. I guess you were on SNL, but there's a lot of forgettable faces on that show these days. Kate McKinnon was at the top of her game on SNL. Wig was in a bunch of movies, although her career is in trouble now, it seems. McCarthy's still in stuff. She's still got a movie career. So, you were the 4th girl on the totem pole. Hate to tell you. And that's why I got paid less. Anybody in Hollywood would not even balk at that pay. Had nothing to do with anything other than you were the least famous of those 4. Chris Hemsworth was in that movie. Of course he got paid more than you. I mean, Annie Potts was in the original Ghostbusters. She was not as famous as Bill Murray, not as famous as Dan Aykroyd. She was about maybe on par with Harold Ramis, but I think he was in Stripes before that, so Harold Ramis even had more of a movie career. So, you hear Annie Potts complaining about her career? And she's great in that movie. I love Annie Potts in Ghostbusters. She's one of my favorite characters. But, everybody involved in the female Ghostbusters reboot just was deluding themselves. I mean, it's just absolute delusion to think female Ghostbusters was just gonna, they had a shot. You could have just said, these are all the daughters of the previous characters. Problem solved. And then everybody would have been like, oh, okay. Sure, I'll root for these girls. But you redo the movie? You try to erase the classic comedy. Idiots. It was doomed. It was absolutely doomed. And Leslie Jones, for her part, has no power to change that. But you took the money, you were in the movie, Just be happy you have a career. You know? And yeah, you might end up in B movies and terrible sitcoms, but hey, that's Hollywood. I mean, maybe you'll get lucky and be in something good. I don't know. You never know. All right, was there anything else? Let's see. Hollywood Reporter. This is all just my opinion, by the way. People who criticize. Kerry Washington on discovering she was conceived through sperm donor. I don't think you have to announce that kind of personal information, but okay. Weird. Naked Attraction. Clint Miller, Ghostbusters Afterlife was a much better concept. Yeah, it was a sequel. Naked Attraction, brutal full frontal nude dating show quietly added to Max. No. No, thank you. I don't want to see nudity. Who the hell would want to be on this show? Yeah, man, you want to talk about being an actor and doing something like, ugh, this is the only gig I could get. I gotta eat. I mean, I guess if you're good looking, you don't care. I don't care. I'll be naked. Everybody likes my body. But I don't know. I couldn't do it. No way. I had a friend. He would nude model, and I said, "Oh man, you did nude modeling, really?" He's like, "Ah, I didn't care," and he would do it all the time. He said he made good money. But the hardest part was standing still. Like that was the hardest part. He'd had to stand still for like a long time, and I couldn't do that either. I'm just too. Oh, here it is, Smile 2. 2024 release date, so that gets a sequel. I hear that's good. Jamie Lee Curtis wants to be in One Piece. So, smart move on her part. She looks like the character she's lobbying, by the way. They don't have a picture of... Well, it's... Oh, there it is. Yeah. See, she looks just like this character. Dr. Carisha or something. Yeah, I could totally see Jamie Lee Curtis in this role, right? I mean, you could totally see it. They just have to give her the prosthetic nose, and she's on her way. So, smart. Mark Wahlberg talks openly about his dedication to God and family. See, Wahlberg, I think he's making a smart move here. He's taking his millions. He moved to Las Vegas. He's starting a new production company. He's getting in on all the new stuff. That's going to be all... Some of it's going to be semi-religious. It's going to be more TradCon stuff. Daily Wire, Angel Studios, all that stuff. This is the new Hollywood. I'm going to predict he's going to be big again. Because he's taken his star power and he's going to have more control. And, I mean, you're probably not going to get a lot of his stuff in wide release, but where it's released, he will have a dedicated fan base. He'll be better 20 years from now than most of these clowns. Most of these other clowns, they're not going to be able to get arrested. IDW Media still hemorrhaging money. Lost $1.28 million last quarter. I don't know how these guys are in business. I don't know why they were in business in the first place, really. But they just... I think the entire company was set up... I think a lot of comic book companies are just set up to drain money. Especially if there's stock involved. But... I mean, I don't think they had any original characters of note. All right. Oh, this was funny from this week. You gotta love this. Kimmel, Colbert, and Fallon had a Vegas show. So, they first decided to do a podcast called Strike Force 5. And it was Fallon, Colbert, and Kimmel... and then two other late night guys was John Oliver and Seth Meyers were the other two. So then, and they're raising money for the strike. So, okay. Then they decide to do a Las Vegas show, just the three of them, for whatever reason. I guess the other two couldn't do it, or they only wanted to do these three. And then Kimmel gets a certain medical condition. You know. Mr. Safety, I'll say. It's crazy. I believe he was medically boosted, Jimmy Kimmel, and somehow he still got sick. That's so crazy. The second time he's got it. It's terrible. That's terrible. But then they had to refund all the money. So, but like, who would see this? Like, really? These three guys in a live show? Like, I guess Colbert's not really a stand-up guy, although he's gotten slightly better at it, doing his terrible jokes on his show, I guess. Jimmy Fallon, I guess he used to do stand-up, and Jimmy Kimmel, I believe, did stand-up eons ago, but I just can't imagine this being any good, but who knows? Let's see. I think wrap it up. Oh, the WGA members protested Dancing with the Stars. I don't know why, because that feels like a reality show to me. There wouldn't be any writers on that show, or you wouldn't need them. But they also protested at The View, which I thought was hilarious. And then a family was coming in to see The View, and they saw the picket line. They didn't want to cross it, so they joined the strikers. So anything to stop The View, I'm for. I'm making a joke. It's a joke. Legal things. It's just crazy. All right, and I think we're just about done here. Deadline, pretty much the same stuff. Union members poke fun at the best and final offer line from the AMPTP. That doesn't seem good for negotiations. Travis Barker shares his positive diagnosis on Instagram. Oh, he tested positive for a certain medical condition. That's terrible. So I guess he's off the road for a while. Get better soon. Clint Miller, Matt Walsh announced that he's appearing on Dancing with the Stars. I know. It's so weird. Like, the guys at The Wire, like, they're kind of halfway in between, I think, internet stardom and celebrity stardom. But I think there's a real danger that the Daily Wire could completely be co-opted by big television. Like, for instance, and I'm just spitballing here, let's say, I don't know, ABC or NBC or one of the major networks just collapses, and Jeremy Boring, who funds the Daily Wire, just buys it. Maybe buys ABC, let's say, and he turns it into the Daily Wire, essentially. Like, he takes all the Daily Wire stuff and he just puts it right on ABC, and then becomes like the head of a network. I think that would completely change the Daily Wire and Matt Walsh. So I don't know if I like this. I mean, I get why he's doing it. It's probably money and it's great exposure, and you know, maybe he'll get to say a few base things, but I don't know. I think it's risky, but we'll see what happens. Wheel of Fortune under new host Ryan Seacrest reveals what will change. Looks like Vanna White got a raise and a new commitment from the show, so she ain't going anywhere. That's going to be weird, because this was like the perfect opportunity for her to retire. I get it, you want more money. She even said, "Oh, I should host," but it's like, why were you on the show? You were super hot. Like, Vanna White back in the 80s, smoke show, total smoke show. Everybody would be watching the show and say, "Ooh, Vanna White's coming out." Now, like, she still looks good, but come on. Like, and if you're going to host, but, like, you haven't been the host, but she's staying, I guess. I mean, I think she should just retire, but she doesn't have to. If that's what she wants to do and keep making tons of money. I mean, how much more money do you need? How old are you? Like, I hit my mid-70s and I got money. See ya. Like, how much longer are you going to live, right? You know? Retire. Like, why wouldn't you retire? Like, people just can't retire. Some of these people. The people in these upper echelons, they cannot retire. I don't know why. It seems so awesome to be retired. just, I don't know, you go on cruises, go to casinos, spend your money, eat dinner, watch TV, do whatever. Like, that sounds awesome. Why would you want to do that? I don't get people. But okay. All right. We're at the end. Okay, so what have we learned today? Well, we learned, I ranted a lot about gender swapping characters. I don't like that. We learned that. Oh, wait. Clint Miller, remember when the auto industry was #1 in America? After this strike and the all-electric push, we can declare the America big three auto manufacturers dead. Probably. I mean, I don't know a lot of people who would even buy an American car now, except for a Ford truck, right? Ford trucks still considered like good. People like them. They're still considered powerful and worthy of your dollar, and they hold their value and blah, blah, blah. Most other things, no. People don't buy them unless they're just cheap. And the thing about a Ford, anyway, my friend would tell me, like, oh, the great thing about a Ford is even though it pieces fall off of it, you can always find them in a junkyard and put them right back on, right? So it was you fixed it a lot if you had an old Ford, but they were easy to fix, and they were cheap. So if you were handy, it was a great car to have. If you upkept it, you really didn't have to do much of anything. If you upkeep any car, you don't have to do much. You change your oil, get it serviced, you're good. 90% of the time. Unless you're like driving like a maniac. But now it's like there are other cars made, the name is Japanese or whatever, but it's actually mostly assembled here. I forget, they did a study, and I want to say it was on Steven Crowder. It was like the Tacoma was the most American car currently, because most of it was assembled here, and most of the parts were built here out of all the cars. It wasn't these other cars. Like, again, it's part of this globalism, right? You're getting chips from Taiwan. You're getting metal from this country, and you're assembling stuff overseas so you can pay workers pennies and then bring it over here and just pull it all together. That's the strategy, unfortunately. And the cars are so complicated now too. That's part of the problem too. When I was a kid and my friends were buying like 70s cars, they were much simpler autos. They didn't have computers in them. So my friends could change their own oil. I couldn't do it because I wasn't that handy, but they did it all the time. They'd put their car up on those little ramps, go underneath it, drain the oil, put the thing back on, put the oil back in, get a new filter, you're good to go. And all it cost you was your time and the oil and a filter. Now, you can't even get at the filter in some cars. Good luck. Good luck getting at the filter. It's not even worth your time. But, JEC, you're probably getting steel from Taiwan too? Oh, we get steel from there? I don't know. I know they made the chips there. But we have stuff here too, but because we don't want any pollution, right? Like, stuff was made here in the 70s, and what happened? Well, we had a lot of pollution in the 70s. Like, when I was a kid, there was a creek behind the baseball field. It was orange. It was completely orange. And one day I stuck my hand in it, and I pulled out my arm, and it was all orange. And I freaked out, and I was like, get it off, get it off, get it off. I don't know what was in it. I don't know if I should have ever put my arm in it, but I did. And I think either me or my friend fell into it later that same day. But it was just this, I don't know what it was. I don't know why it was orange. It was runoff from something. There were lakes near me. You wouldn't want to eat the fish. They were horribly polluted. Now, most of those same lakes and streams are clear. Less pollution. Good. But, other places in the world are getting polluted on my behalf for the products that I want. And we need some sort of balance. Like, we're going to have to live with some pollution. And then, try to, and the technology is different too. So that's technology from 50 years ago. I mean, the technology now is a lot cleaner. So we got to bring some factories back. And we got to figure out how that works and where the pollution goes or whatever. I mean, I'm sure there's a way to collect it that, wouldn't pollute everything. It would just pollute an area. You could dump it all and say, all right, that's the polluted area. You put it in drums or whatever. I mean, they do that with nuclear waste, but they get better and better at reusing nuclear waste. And eventually the technology will reach the point where we just reuse it. Unfortunately, now, this push with EV, we have all the pollutants from EVs, the cars themselves, the heavy metal in the batteries, solar panels, old solar panels that don't work anymore. What do you do with all this stuff? Can you recycle it? Is it worth to recycle? It's just piling up in places. That's bad. See, it was better to have older cars on the road that use gas longer than to have an EV that dies in 5 years and then it's in a swamp or whatever. Right? I'd rather have a car that runs 20 years and runs on gas than a car that runs on 5 years and then it's in a dump for the rest of its existence. It has to be, and look, you're not going to get 100% recyclableness out of it, but you could with the older cars. I mean, they were just metal. They'd crush them and melt them down and build new cars out of them. We need simpler cars, I think. Less computers. Because the computer breaks on your car now, you're done. You're absolutely done. The car won't move. If my computer breaks on my car, how's the ignition going to work? There's no key anymore. Used to be you turn a key. There was a separate ignition, and now there's a button. If that button doesn't work, it's done. It's done. I have a giant paperweight in my driveway and nowhere to go. So, yeah, we need simpler cars, I'd say. But will we get that? Well, is there money in simpler cars? That's the real issue. All these guys, they're just money. And they keep getting subsidized. It's cheaper to bribe government officials and lobby them than it is to make a new car. Partly it's their own fault. You think they'd lobby them for less regulations so they could make cheaper cars, but they don't. Because politically, the politicians push back and say, oh, I can't screw the unions. That's why I think it'll be interesting to see where the unions end up. Will they end up with the Democrats in this next election cycles? A lot of them are already out of the Democratic Party, the rank and file. It's the guys at the top who run the unions who are pouring money into the Democrats because that's where they think their bread is buttered. But these guys are ready to sell all your jobs overseas and close down everything. Don't give them your money, I say. I say cut a deal with the GOP. But that'll change everything. And on that note, I'm going to wrap it here. So if you got any further comments, now's the time. What else is going on? Okay, I'll be at FanCon on, where's that? Saturday the 30th. I'll be at FanCon. It's in Vineland, New Jersey, at Vineland Library. Oh, Storebank's here. Hi, Storebank. I just wish they'd bring fins back to cars. Yeah, they're cool, but they're not aerodynamic, so that was part of the deal. But again, the car was made of metal, so who cares? I think they should stick with fossil fuels because, again, as the technology gets better and better, I always talk about this episode of Buck Rogers with Gil Gerard back in the 80s. So Buck goes to Earth and he finds a motorcycle that still works, or he brings one, I forget, and they give him a little capsule like this, and they said, just put that in your gas tank. And he goes, well, how long will this last? And they say like some ridiculous amount of time, I forget, like a year. That's what I see in the future. At some point, gasoline will be so efficiently burned in your car, you'll fill up your tank and you'll be good to go for weeks. Or it'll be like some sort of, gas hybrid stuff that, it burns so efficiently there's almost no pollution and, you can power the car for like a month. That's what they need to do. My opinion. It's all my opinion, damn it. For those of you criticizing me in the comments, I know it's none of you, but other people who will watch this later and criticize because they know nothing of my genius. I'm just kidding. Anyhow, I'm going to wrap it here. This thing keeps bouncing around. I'm going to wrap it here. So we learned many things. We learned what little I know about cars. We learned the Nun has legs. The Nun 2 has legs. The Expendables did not start strong, despite having Megan Fox in it. And we learned that I can't stand Rachel Zegler or her looks. But we had many, many, many alternatives to the Snow White casting. So if you didn't see the beginning of the stream, go back for that. Because that was a fun discussion. All right. So hope to see you all next week. My name is Tony D. Little Jones somewhere in the background. And we'll see you in the next one. Good night, everybody.